All right, well, welcome. Welcome to the WEGO Health Tik Talk. We could not be more excited about this platform, these panelists, and the insane potential for patient leaders to make their advocacy known in such a new and creative way. For those of you who are new to WEGO Health, we are a patient leader network 100,000 strong with patient influencers of all kinds. And we provide free resources like this panel, as well as a huge platform of courses on things like public speaking and collaborating with healthcare and different ways to spread awareness effectively on social media. And we also connect patient leaders with paid gigs, including insight groups, major national digital media campaigns, speaking engagements with pharmaceutical companies, and so much more. And we also host our annual WEGO Health Awards, where patients can be recognized for their efforts in their respective communities and across all their amazing skill sets. Today, we are tackling the topic of TikTok, which is a real tongue twister. And we are joined by three amazing patient influencers who rule the TikTok space and are ready and willing to share their stories and advice for beginners, intermediates, and rising stars. I'm Alana Jacqueline, a rare disease and chronic illness patient advocate for WEGO Health. And with me is Joe Beckwith, William Yank, and Mary Kate Mahaney. Thank you all so much for being here. We've only got like an hour and we have so much to share. So let's dive right in. We'll go around and do a bit of an intro. Let's start with Joe. Why don't you tell us a bit about your condition, the type of advocacy work you do, and how you got started on TikTok and how long you've been active on it?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to see you all here. I'm happy to be here. So I am Joe Beckwith. I go by Footless Joe online on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And about 3 years ago, I started advocating for mental health awareness, specifically with PTSD and anxiety and depression. But then I ended up finding out later that year that I was going to have to lose my leg. And so I kind of pivoted towards, life in the aftermath amputation and going through that and dealing with chronic pain and chronic illness. And so I now use TikTok kind of as a platform. I share a lot about life as an amputee because it's kind of fun, it's funny, it's interesting, but I also use that as sort of an in to talk about what I'm really passionate about, which is mental health. So I started on TikTok, I believe, in December of 2019 and have been pretty hooked ever since. It's a very fun platform.
I feel like that's early 2019. I feel like you were ahead of the curve on that one.
And my husband told me I should join and I did, so it worked out.
he was a smart one on that. Yeah. And I mean, you do amazing work. I love your videos. They're super fun to watch and they're super educational too. So I'm really excited you're here with us. Thank you so much. And then why don't we move on to Mary Kate? Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and your TikTok.
Yeah, sure. I'm Mary Kate Mahaney. I go by Chronic Baddie on TikTok. So I kind of have a unique journey. Since I started TikTok, my diagnosis changed. Initially, I was told I had chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, and I started my account, I think, just in September of 2020, so fairly recently. But then TikTok kind of helped me figure out that this wasn't what was going on. Actually, TikTok helped me figure out that I have a connective tissue disorder instead. And that was after a doctor told me you don't have fibromyalgia. And I was like, what the heck is going on? But I continued kind of posting and connecting with people on TikTok. And it did help lead me to my final diagnosis journey. So I either have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or joint hypermobility spectrum disorder. I don't know which one for sure yet, but my doctor said, don't worry too much about the label right now. You're doing everything that you need to do. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, I had been on TikTok since about a year ago, but I didn't start my chronic illness account until September because I had another really bad health flare. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really need people to connect with. Instagram really wasn't doing it for me. I would post occasionally, but I really only had like a couple of people following me that also were chronically ill. But TikTok, like within a week, I had like 1,000 followers. I was like, this is amazing. I love it. And now I'm like totally hooked and I have like a community on it. So I can't say enough good things about TikTok.
I think I mean, when I heard your story originally, I thought that was just like, it was the wildest thing, but it really embodies exactly what we want to do here, which is like create a community of advocacy and show that like you can connect with people and you can find things out. Like, I mean, the fact that you found your diagnosis through TikTok is wild.
Yeah.
And through the advocacy of others. And now you're passing it forward and helping other people learn about life with chronic illness. And your skits are super funny. I really love the content that you put out. It's super relatable. And I think you're doing a great job. So again, I'm also super excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we also have William Yank. Tell us a little bit about you, your journey, and your TikTok.
Yeah, so I started TikTok pretty much around what's going to be the start of my senior year of college. I joked around with my buddy David and was like, I think I'm going to try to join on this and we'll see what happens. And he's like, dude, try it out, see what's going to happen. And so jokingly just played around with it, watched videos, never really made any, but enjoyed the app. So I just kept it around. Around that same time, I relapsed my leukemia for, it would have been the second time. So my third time fighting. And I was going back to Baltimore, to Hopkins, where I was receiving my treatment. And that time I was going to be there for a long stay because I needed to get a transplant, a stem cell transplant. And so from that, I ended up making TikToks because I was bored in the hospital for so many days. And that's kind of what ignited the spark there. And I was just kind of relating. I did like a countdown to my transplant. And each day I posted a video and a bunch of them just went viral. I had like nurses in the videos. I was like making fun of leukemia and like the treatment I was getting and like a bunch of crazy stuff. It was a lot of fun. But that's kind of just how it went. And yeah, I don't know. Ever since then, I've just had like kind of this small community that's I've kind of paid attention to and really cared about me. And I've been really excited about that. And it's been really nice. And that kind of following transferred over to more intimate relationships on like Instagram or Facebook, where people have actually reached out and told me their stories and things like that. So been really grateful for that. And yeah, that's what's going on.
I've loved watching your journey on there, and I love that you involved your nurses in the hospital and that they were so willing to like get up and dance with you and do like the,
Yeah.
Those are cool. I like those. Yeah, and I totally, I think that also embodies part of the experience of TikTok. Is like we hear about it, right, and then we like start to watch it, and then we're like, I don't know if I should post a video. Yeah, I don't know if I can do what everyone else is doing. But then you get on there and all of a sudden you blow up. So really cool again to have you as well. And you're doing really cool things too. Like you know, it's not just sharing your story, but you're also doing collaborations. I saw you're working with Walgreens. You're doing fundraising for, is it the leukemia?
Yeah, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I'm helping out other people's fundraisers and stuff like that, and just anybody who needs help, I'm here. I got a helping hand, so
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's great. I think we're seeing a little bit of everything. You know, we've got some humor, we've got advocacy, we've got information and education, and it's all just happening on this platform. But for a lot of people, they're still really freaked out about TikTok. It's such a new way of creating content, and there are always you know, so we counter a lot of like TikTok anxiety from some of our patient leaders who maybe haven't quite downloaded the app yet, or they have and are still a little perplexed about how it works and how to get started. So how hard is TikTok to get started on, and what are your best tips for beginners? Anyone can jump in.
Well, when I first started, it was during the pandemic, and it was just me and my husband, and he had never been on TikTok. So I couldn't even ask my friends who were already on it, like, how do you use this? So I was like a complete beginner when I started. I literally looked at YouTube videos, like how-to YouTube videos on how to do the most basic things. That's literally how I started, and it was very helpful, literally. And then also there's an account, Jera.bean. It's like Jera.bean, and she posts a lot of videos on like how to do trends. Like if you can't figure stuff out, like she breaks it down for you. So if you wanted to do like a chronic illness spin on something and you couldn't figure out how to do it, some people, their accounts are just tutorials on how to do trends. So that's really helpful if you're just starting. That's what I found.
Those are lifesaver accounts. I really appreciate those. Like, especially when they're trying to teach you how to do like transitions, or there's a lot of creative trends. But yeah. What about you, Joe? Best tips for beginners?
Yeah. So as far as how easy it is to get started on TikTok, I joined it. Like I said, my husband encouraged me to join it, but it was kind of like a joke. I was like, oh, this is the app for the youngsters. I'd heard a bunch of YouTubers I know like make fun of it and how ridiculous it was. And I got it and I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Maybe I'll just post one video. It's not going to do anything. It was like my dogs. And then I was like, it's so simple to create and share content, and it's so quick that was so refreshing, because I had spent the last year and a half doing YouTube pretty much full time, which is a lot of filming, a lot of editing, a lot of behind the scenes and tags and titles and all of that. And it was so refreshing to just be like, I can just have fun with this. I can just be creative and like pick up my phone if I have a quick idea or a question I want to answer, and it can be as in depth or not as I want it to be. And you don't really have to worry about like quality quite as much, I found on TikTok. So I found it really easy to get started. And I think the biggest thing that was true, at least in my journey, I think it's easy to overthink, like, okay, what kind of content do I want to create? What do people want to see? But the way I approached it was more like, this is a place to be creative and have fun and share what I care about. So like, what would I want to see? What kind of content would I want to see? And then just playing around with that. And some of it was seen by like 7 people, and some of it went out to like, 5 million people. And it was very sporadic. I think another tip for me that helped me anyways was not getting too focused on numbers, because I think it's easy to make a few TikToks and it's like, oh, everything's flopping, like I shouldn't even do this. But it's the way the algorithm works is pretty sporadic, and so just keep playing around with it, just keep being creative, make stuff that you're excited about. And I found that to be a way that it's not only really enjoyable but also long term it's been very effective.
I see a lot too that like, I mean, you can't give up. You can't give up when you just get started on TikTok. Like,
Yeah.
And especially when you start to see your favorite content creators that they're posting multiple times a day. It's not once a day, it's multiple times a day, to really start getting that following. And I see that you post very often, which is great. And they get tons of views. And I mean, it was something I noticed in the beginning too, that I felt kind of disheartened because I would put so much work into a TikTok and then I would get on there and it would be like 13 views.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh,
cool.
I'm gonna just shut down emotionally now. But you have to keep going back out there.
Exactly.
Trying again and again and keep watching. And just like you said, looking at other people's content and thinking about your own content and is this something I would want to watch? Is this something that really engages me? So 100% agree with all you just said. What about you, Will? Best tips for beginners?
Yeah, I totally agree with Joe on the idea of just like one, not focusing on numbers, and then also with Mary Kate's idea of like looking at other people's for tutorials. I did 2 similar things. I'd also tried to do YouTube a year or 2 prior to being diagnosed with cancer even, and just wasn't successful at it. I was very consistent. It is a lot of back leg work. It is a heck of a lot of back leg work. I spent hours in my library trying to figure out how Adobe Premiere Pro works and everything. And it was just a crapshoot. Anyways, but when it came to TikTok, it was just like, okay, all I have to do is pick up my phone and I can just shoot this. And like you guys said, you just post it, right? It's not something that you have to like really think over, really edit. It's not something that's too complicated. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the sooner that you just pick it up and start posting things, anything on that dang app can go viral, like literally anything. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some of the craziest, like literally videos of the ground will probably go, you know what I'm saying? It can just have a quote on it and it'll go viral. So you use it as you wish. And just really don't pay attention to the numbers, and like the things will come. And also similar to what Joe also said, don't focus so much on like looking at other people's content and like comparing yours to like trying to replicate content. Just make up your own stuff. Just try to use, some of the sounds that they have on there. I mean, maybe try to put your spin on a dance, the greatest artists steal, that famous quote. Just try to use someone else's ideas, but then put your own spin on it, have some fun with it, and then you can go really far. So that'd probably be my advice.
Yeah, I think authenticity is kind of king on TikTok. I think that, you can play into, and you should play into all the trends and see all the popular music that's going on there, see how people are telling stories, but then take it and make it your own. And that's really what we want to focus on with advocacy too. We want to talk about the relatability of having a chronic illness or a disability or cancer, or different diseases, and the reality of it. But it's really the storytelling that is the star on TikTok. And if you can figure out how to insert your story into something that's trending and that's, fun to watch, or just educational, I feel like that's really always the goal. Yeah. So,
oh, sorry. One other thing. I would say also, I think some people that aren't on TikTok yet, they're like intimidated because they're like, Instagram is already so much, like everything is perfectly curated. Everyone looks perfect. TikTok is not like that. TikTok, you can let your freak flag fly. Like I would never post some of the stuff on my Instagram that I post on my TikTok. Like I would have just like rolled out of bed, have not showered in 2 days because I didn't have enough energy to, but I would still post to my chronic illness TikTok and people would still show you love. Like, don't be afraid to post like what you're actually going through on TikTok, for sure.
I think that standard is set by like the Gen Z culture, because like millennials and up are like, oh, we have to be, you know, looking
So
great on
true.
Instagram. We have to be fully edited. And Gen Z is like, I just rolled out of my bed with my hoodie and this is how it is. Like, this is the reality.
I
This is,
love that.
and I'm like, I'm here to tell you a story, but I'm not going to put on a full face of makeup for it. And I love that they set that standard for us, because that's how you get so much content. That's how,
Yeah.
you know, TikTok becomes an endless scrolling vortex, because people don't have to worry so much about making it perfect. They just have to make it real.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Especially, I saw a quote or something recently that was like, the greatest thing about TikTok is it romanticizes the mundane. And so
Yeah.
it's this idea that, you know, we can wake up out of bed, someone can kind of quote unquote vlog their day in 60 seconds of just random stuff. But for some reason, it's like art. And we're like, we love it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I love about TikTok. And you get so much more of a genuine person out of it. You can't fake yourself in a video. People are going to pick at it right away. Like, you got to be yourself. And so whereas Instagram, you know, it's a shot, it's an image. And so
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Yeah. You know, and there are always these just like wild trends happening on TikTok. There's just like this explosion of creativity and like unique stories and just like really spicy trends. And some of the viral TikToks that have caught my eye have been things like the Bridgerton musical, where someone just decided to start writing a musical about Bridgerton, just like woke up and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And absolutely flawless, by the way, like chef's kiss. But I also really love the guy who makes like very emotional music off of internet drama.
Oh, he's the best.
They're just silly things, but it's people's creativity and taking their own stories or like the story they want to tell and just like doing the most, and it's great. I know, and then there are like the makeup artists that take emojis and make these inspired like beautiful looks. Like for instance, there's this girl Sydney_art, I think her thing is, and she's one of the biggest makeup TikTokers on there. And she built her whole platform, made this amazing makeup account, and then she made a TikTok that was about IBS awareness, because she has IBS and she has an ostomy. And she did such a beautiful awareness piece with it, that I just thought was like, I saw that and I was like, wow, like that touched me. It actually made me cry. I duetted it on our WEGO Health channel, just because I was like, here's this person that's made herself like a TikTok celebrity out of something completely else, and who's using her like creative own unique vibe to do something for her disease community that's really gonna go beyond just her disease community. It's gonna reach everyone. Yeah, and it's just kind of overwhelming sometimes as creators to figure out, you know, how do we stay on par with that? How do we compete with that? How do we keep it authentic yet at the same time make it spread like wildfire? So my next question for you guys is like, it's the big one. What do you think, from what you've seen, from what you've done, what makes a TikTok go viral?
Oh, that's a great question. It's like the question that everybody wants to know,
Yeah,
right?
right. Everyone in the comments right now is like,
Yeah, tell me now. So I've had a number of TikToks that just like took off and have millions of views on them. And what I've noticed with those is it's oftentimes the one I'm not expecting, like the one that I spent 12 minutes tops making, like start to finish. That's just like showing something unique or silly or real about my life. Either I'm like, showing someone like how I do something with my prosthetic leg, or there was one recently where I was talking about an experience I witnessed in a doctor's office where there was a total lack of compassion showed towards a patient who was being denied care by her insurance company. I just like flipped my phone open and talked for 60 seconds about how heartbreaking that was and how it had a similar experience. And I expected that one to like go absolutely nowhere, and it connected with so many people. So as much as I would love to be like, here's the formula for viral TikToks, I feel like, at least in my experience, what I found is just using whatever I have is really helpful. So like like I said, I'm an amputee, that's interesting to people. And so I love being able to show that and talk about that. I've dealt with a lot of mental health struggles, like using that, whatever is authentic and real to you, and just being real about that, whether your take is funny or emotional or whatever that is, and being consistent with that. So I don't think I have a formula to share with you, but people like learning about lives that aren't theirs. Like we like having a peek into a world that we know nothing about.
You just nailed it. Like that is
Yeah.
it. People like learning about lives that aren't their own. That's exactly
I sure do. Like it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my 2 cents, that like, yeah, we all like learning about things that are different. And so I think there's sometimes fear, at least I felt fear to share about things that are personal or like I know like make me different than other people, but that's almost the most relatable or the content that people really connect with, because we want to know that, and it's beautiful and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely true. And I think that that hits on the point too, that like when you start to share stories like that are like uniquely your own, that's when you're going to find your community. And that's kind of like what happened, Mary Kate, with you, is you started seeing other people's TikToks and making TikToks, and your community found you because it was authentic.
Yeah, for me, I think what helps me gain followers is actually opening up and being vulnerable and talking about what I was struggling with. Because if you're chronically ill, even if you're undiagnosed, it's so freaking hard, and you can feel like you're on your own little island, especially if you're a young person. So I think me actually just getting on there, like no makeup on, nothing, just talking about what was actually going on in my life and how hard it was. Other people were like, oh my God, I'm going through the same thing, but I don't feel comfortable posting, but like you posting about this, that's inspirational to me. So like actually being open and honest with what you're going through. I think more people are way more vulnerable on TikTok than they are on other social media platforms. And people are so encouraging and just like positive and like there for you on TikTok more so than other platforms too, I think.
No, I agree. I've totally seen, it's like if you read the room in TikTok, it is so open, so much more open than on Instagram. And it's because I don't know if it's because you're talking to yourself in a camera that you feel like you're almost like in a therapist's office, and you can have your dark humor moments and your relatability moments without having to like stress that, like, I don't know, when you hit, I don't know why it's so different, but it feels like it, doesn't it? But yeah, I think you both hit the nail on the head with just authenticity helps with a viral video. What do you think, Will? Is it authenticity, or is there anything else that helps contribute to viral videos?
Yeah, so I mean, we've already kind of went over some of the stuff like, music and stuff and popular songs. I saw someone ask about like, how do you know what music's trending? Literally, if you go to the sounds, it should tell you what trending music is on there. Pick one of those top songs and you'll probably get a couple more views than you normally would. The other tip I would have is get people involved. The more people that you have in there, it's like people seeing characters in your story, right? And so like you're the book, and like the more people you involve in this story, the more interesting and more invested they're going to get into what you're doing. And so that was, at least for my case with my viral TikToks, with my nurses and my doctors and that kind of fun stuff. They were able to share it with their groups and they were able to watch it, and so all of a sudden you have this tree that's just growing and growing and growing of people watching and watching. And yeah, that'd probably be my advice. My big thing has always been to try to get people involved. And sometimes it's been shut down just because obviously, some people don't want to be recorded and different things like that, which is okay. That's fine. But then just don't be afraid to take, responsibility into your own hands and knock it out yourself. So.
And yeah. I think that's something interesting too, is like when you get on TikTok and you start building your channel there and everything, you're familiar with it, and you get comfortable with it. And then when you try to bring in somebody else who's not, it's always a bit of a conversation. I know personally.
It's hard. Yeah.
It is hard to, like, I have to convince I've had my husband do like 2 videos. He did 2 videos with me, and it was pulling teeth. I was like, please come do a TikTok with me. I need another person in the TikTok. And he was like, doesn't have any social media, so doesn't, not his thing. But now he's dancing in my videos.
Ooh, nice.
There you go.
Have you guys had that experience? Have you tried to get other people in your videos, like Joe and Mary Kate?
Yeah, my husband's been in like 1 and he would only give me like 2 takes. I was like, this is not gonna work.
Same here. My dear sweet husband, he's like exponentially funnier than I'll ever be and just fantastic on camera, but he hates it. He doesn't like it. And so, yeah, so it's very much pulling teeth. I think he's been in like 1 maybe over the past like year and a half.
Yeah, it's not easy to convince people, but I think once they get on there, another part of it too is just, I think when we talk about viral videos and trends and, what's working, there's a lot that goes into figuring out TikTok. There's a lot that goes into understanding the For You page, which is the page that for beginners, this is the page that is auto-populated for you based on videos you've liked, videos you spent a long time watching, any video you've interacted with, hashtags you've searched for. But there's a lot that goes into figuring out TikTok. And there are so many people that are afraid of that process, but it's pretty enjoyable. It's pretty enjoyable to start doing it. I can say that being a part of innovation at WEGO Health and other companies before this, understanding social media, doing all that background research and investigation, it wasn't always enjoyable. But man, when I started TikTok, I was on there 3 hours a night, and I looked up and it was like 2 a.m. and I was like just laughing until I was crying watching videos, or crying and then laughing, because you never know what's going to come up on your FYP. Like it's just, and I think that's like part of it too, is like you get on there and you're like, am I going to be crying? Am I going to be laughing? Am I going to learn something? Like it's just endless surprises. But it does take some time. And I think for the people who do take time to learn it, you are rewarded both with what you're seeing and what you can put out there. And we also see that, it's not just patients, it's not just people, it's actually companies too. Like the Washington Post. I don't know if you've seen the
I
Washington
love theirs.
Post.
Oh my gosh.
It's just this one guy sitting alone in his apartment, just talking to a can of Spam about world news. And he's doing fantastically. Penguin Putnam hired like a 16-year-old to run their account, and she's doing great. It's wild. Like you just have to spend the time and try to understand the culture just like you would anywhere else. But I think that, that's just part of learning about TikTok and understanding why videos trend the way they do. Sometimes it seems so strange, but another thing I learned was shorter videos, like 15-second videos, if you're just starting, will do better than long form videos. But again, if you have a 60-second video to just tell a story that's authentic and that could get picked up too. So honestly, who knows?
I also think, go ahead, Mary.
Oh, sorry.
Mary
No,
Kate.
I was going to say too, if you're just downloading it now, like don't get too caught up. The first couple of weeks, the videos that they're going to be showing you are the most popular ones. So don't compare the content that you're thinking of making to those videos. Those are the most viewed videos, like period. So just like wait a few weeks until you find kind of more your algorithm. It adjusts based on what you're liking. So definitely don't feel intimidated when you first download the app, because everyone has like little niches that they end up being on.
You don't have to write a musical.
Yeah, you don't have to write a musical.
I mean, you could, but you don't have to. Let's not go on that level. Yeah. And William, was there something you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, also, if you think about it, so your older videos can become very popular too. So like what I found is if you have one video that kind of picks up, a lot of your prior videos that you've posted will probably pick up a lot of pace, and you're going to be very surprised at what they can do. So again, it's that idea of like pushing out content and not necessarily, being fake about it, but still, keeping that authenticity and continuing to post and not being afraid of what the numbers are saying, because all those numbers could come right back up to you and won't even feel like you missed a thing.
So true. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that, where you might have a couple videos that just get like 15 views or like 300 views, and then you suddenly get a 20,000 view video out of nowhere, and then all of your other videos will pick up. So just don't be disheartened. I guess if you're new to this, don't be disheartened if your first few videos don't take off. They probably won't, but it doesn't mean that they can't in the future, and it doesn't mean that content is wasted. Advocacy, probably for most patient leaders, started on places like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. But TikTok is it's a different animal. So I wanted to talk about like what makes TikTok so different from the other social media platforms that we might use for advocacy. What are you seeing that's like unique about this platform that might be a challenge, but also kind of like an opportunity for patient leaders to share their stories?
Well, I'll start. So for me, I also struggle with chronic fatigue syndrome sometimes.
Mhm.
And when I started TikTok, I was in a really bad flare. But the green screen effect on TikTok lets you kind of story tell and you put yourself in any situation. So even if I wasn't able to leave my bed or my couch, I still could put together like a really polished, cool looking TikTok or tell a story just from the comfort of my own bed without even having to get up, which I think is like really, really cool, especially if your energy is limited.
Yes.
Um, it's not like Instagram where you have to like go all over the world to get like pretty sunsets.
Seriously. I guess I'll add something too. What's special about TikTok as well is the fact that you can favorite these types of things. So what I notice when I'm trying to create content is like you'll notice some things being really popular, like the green screen effect, or maybe a specific sound, or something that or an edit that you want, and you want to put it into your video. Being able to favorite these things and like use it in your next video, because maybe you didn't want to search through, I don't know, all the effects and try them all. I don't know about you guys, but that seems like a lot of time to me. So if I see something that I like, I favorite it, I like it, and then I don't know, I guess it's just convenience. I'd say the convenience factor of it really makes it special.
And I think I totally agree with both William and Mary Kate on both of those things, which is one of the reasons why I love TikTok. But another thing that I think is outstanding about it is that it's oftentimes a younger audience, and specifically for things I want to talk about, like making people not feel so weird around people who they see as different. Because like I don't feel different as a human being because I'm missing a leg, but I know that there's discomfort with that. And so if you can reach people at a younger age and be like, this is what my life is like, or this is how I put on my leg, or this is how I do whatever, I think you have this real opportunity to reduce stigmas before they're even really created. And I found that on TikTok, I don't know what your guys' experience has been, but it's also been significantly more positive and inquisitive. Like I said, my main platform was YouTube. I did a lot with Instagram, fantastic. But there was a lot of, negative comments and people kind of being big old meanies, which is bound to happen, unfortunately. But on TikTok, my experience has been polar opposite. People are like,
How
is
many
it okay if I laugh at this? Like, is
Yeah.
it okay if I ask a question, instead of being jerks?
Yeah, I totally see that. I absolutely see that. Like people are kind, and when they ask questions, they do it meaningfully. And
Yeah.
I don't always see that on other platforms. It's really not actually a it's a different code of conduct.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just TikTok in general, I don't really use my TikTok for followers. I use it more just as a sense of community because I
Mhm.
didn't have a chronic illness community before I joined TikTok. So I'm not really chasing followers. It's more I have all these online friendships now and I feel like I know these people because I get to see little glimpses of their day-to-day life and we've been interacting for months and months now and like that's really cool.
Don't you
Um,
feel like that? Like that you get to know people in such a different way than you do on other platforms? Like personally, I feel like I know you all like we're best friends
We're all
and
besties. Yeah.
I've seen your whole lives and that's just how it is. No, like it really is a different level of authenticity. And I felt it a little bit on like Instagram stories. I'm always on Instagram stories, just like any random thought that comes into my head. I'm pretty much on there all day long. Um, but I don't know, something about TikTok too is really unique to that and somehow less filtered. I mean, literally less filtered because they don't have
Yeah.
great filters like Instagram, but less filtered, just content wise.
I think if I can jump in and add one other thing that makes TikTok different for me is I feel like you kind of have the freedom to be more creative and try more things. Like I was really just focusing on like amputation and a little bit of mental health because that like worked well on other platforms. But I got tired of just talking about that. Like I want to show more of my life. And on platforms like YouTube, the algorithm that they use, if you have videos that are like that do significantly worse than your other ones, it has an impact on how much your channel is referred out. So like you don't need all your videos to do well, but it's really important that they do because it impacts your future growth. On TikTok, I found that like if I want to talk about like cool shoes I found or like a hike I went on that has absolutely nothing to do with anything else, I feel so free to post that there. So I'm not just like stuck in a niche. So if you are someone who is dealing with some kind of chronic illness or disease or whatever that might be, and you want to share a lot about that, but maybe you just get done with that. Maybe you're like, I cannot think about this for another second today, and you want to do something totally different. I feel a lot less restricted on TikTok, where you have the freedom to just play and just have fun, and your account isn't going to be like penalized in the algorithm long term because of that.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot on Instagram, where if you don't stick to your niche, then you're canceled. You don't get as much views, I guess. But no, on TikTok, there is a little bit more freedom to explore different parts of your life and talk about different things. And it's also to blending the trends, and a lot of like the pop culture trends, you can make them work for whatever the story is that you're trying to tell that day. Which is not always like so easy and functional to just talk about on Instagram. Like you can't always just flip that over. But yeah, it's and it's so different from, I feel like we've come such a long way from like Facebook groups. Facebook groups could never, like the level of authenticity that is delivered on TikTok, the storytelling, the things that like you wouldn't share with your grandmother somewhere in the ether, potentially on Facebook. She's not on TikTok, so you're fine to share it there. You know a lot of people that you probably share when they're not there. But yeah, I think there's a difference in audience, there's a difference in content, and there's a difference again in the way the algorithm works, that you just get pitched off to these different people and populations that you didn't know were interested in you, but somehow TikTok knows they're interested in you. Yeah.
And I think you can also like create your own world that you want it to be like. I wish there were more like chronically ill people represented in media or TV shows. So then I'll post a TikTok about like if Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City was chronically ill, and you can like do like a whole, make it look like you're on the Sex and the City set on TikTok, which is like really, really cool. And I think that can go viral, and people that aren't chronically ill can see that and be like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And I think that's that's a powerful thing about TikTok, is people don't necessarily have to be following like chronic illness or disability hashtags, but those videos can still come up on their FYP, their explore page. And I think more people are learning on TikTok versus on Instagram, I think.
I wonder if
I think, absolutely.
When you see stuff like that too, because your Sex and the City one, which was so funny, it was you talk, what was the baseline for it? It was like chronic illness or
if Carrie got like long COVID in this new Sex and the City reboot.
Yeah, and just talking about like how the pandemic was for chronically ill patients. That was the message of it. But the way that you did it was funny, it was engaging, it was this unique story, and it was well edited. But I know that, like Joe was saying, it's not as much work as YouTube. It's not as much work as getting in a studio and doing that whole thing. None of TikTok is as much work as really any other form of social media. I went to go take new Instagram pictures the other day, and I was like, oof, like I have to set everything up and take 100 pictures. And I was like, if this was TikTok, this would be so different. But yeah, it's just a totally different vibe. And advocacy is different across this platform. Sometimes we look at Twitter and we just see, here's a link, go donate. But William, like what you do with the videos that you've done for the Leukemia Society, sorry, am I saying this wrong? What is it Leukemia Foundation or?
Leukemia Lymphoma Society, LLS.
I want to get it right. Yeah.
You're good.
The videos that you've done for them, tell us a little bit about those and about how you came up with the concepts for those kind of videos.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff is conversations with the group, right? Because obviously you're representing someone much larger than yourself, and so you got to be a little bit careful about what you say and do, especially with like Walgreens and stuff. But I was representing Walgreens, LLS, and Susan G. Komen for that, so it was even more strict. But I mean, these are just conversations that I have, and they actually give me a lot of freedom. So they'll come to me, they'll say, hey, let me pitch you this idea. Would you be able to make a TikTok about this thing that's going on? And with that, send us, what you kind of come up with, and we can kind of discuss and make creative critiques of it. And so that's kind of how it goes. And I kind of just pull some stuff out of my hat, and we kind of roll with it and see what happens. I tend to get, like, for one of the Walgreens one that didn't end up making it, that I think would have been so epic, was I actually literally went into the Walgreens store, and I got this sweet old lady named Carolyn. She was a cashier, and it was for the Raise Hope End Cancer campaign, the one that I did. Everyone's seen those videos, okay. And pretty much I had her holding flowers, and I had her tell me that flowers is a way for you to like raise money for LLS and CGG Komen. It was the most amazing thing ever.
So cute.
She was like, she was super quiet, like, you can raise money for LLS. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. And I was like, this is going to be perfect. And then Walgreens had to shut it down just because, like, obviously I was in their store. I mean, there could have been someone in the background, ads, people. Yeah. So anyways, so things like that. But then you just get the creative critique back and they're like, okay, actually, we kind of need you to run this route. And so I ended up having to make up my own things. I did the PowerPoint one and stuff like that. So yeah. And then other than that, teams at like LLS, I can put all my footage together that I had while I was diagnosed. So all my time in the hospital, I took a lot of footage, videos, pictures, etc. Sometimes they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, we'll edit this all up for you and we can create a 60-second promo video for you. And I'm like, wow, that takes out a lot of back work, leg work. And I'm like, okay. And so, I am providing all that footage, right? That didn't just come out of nowhere. I didn't pull that out of a hat. That was a lot of hours and time of me, picking apart stuff. But just another way to kind of get involved with different organizations and stuff.
I think that's really cool. And it's something we're exploring a lot at WEGO Health is, collaborating with different partnerships with TikTokers and trying to figure out, what is the best way to do that. But there is so much room for that. And I know it's beginning, so we're still learning the process of it, but there's so many companies interested in working with TikTokers and figuring out the creative process. But again, it's like, I almost feel like a lot of these companies have to dedicate someone on the team or some time to really learn these channels so that they can understand sometimes that the creators know best, or that the creators, are great to collaborate with at the very start of the idea process, because they know their audiences and they know the platform and they can get the message across in a way that potentially could go viral if they give it a shot. But it's really cool that companies are starting to work with creators on TikTok, especially in the advocacy community, whether that's nonprofits, whether that's healthcare companies or pharmaceutical companies. I know we have some things in the works at WEGO Health, and we're really excited about it. And that's one of the reasons too that we really want to get more patient leaders on TikTok, is because there are companies that want to work with you. And just in the same way that we recruit and get patient leaders paid gigs that are social media gigs on all these other platforms, we're coming for TikTok. So we're ready for you. And that's another thing too. If you're creating a profile, don't forget to add it to your WEGO Health profile, because we want to see that too. And for now, I wanted to ask you guys, who are some of your favorite, other than the amazing creators in this room, favorite TikTokers? They can be in the chronic illness community or disability or cancer community, or just in general, if we want to drop, some knowledge bombs on our audience about people they should be watching. Go for it.
Can I go?
Yeah.
So if anyone has ever, does anybody know of Blonde Radio? It's a podcast. So it's blonde.radio, BLOND.radio. It's a guy named Brad. And he's just like this young, like teenage guy. And he's created this podcast, but also this TikTok page. And he has people on and he shares, he does podcasts with literally anyone. Like anyone can reach out to him and they can kind of tell their story and what's going on. And he takes bits of that and puts them into a TikTok. And so you hear about all these like crazy stories, and people talk about life and like philosophy and what they think happiness is, and like what he asks like very poignant questions that are like super interesting. And one of my favorite channels to go across and run across, just because something good is always being said. And he's just created this community of just empathetic, positive, happy people that just want to help out others and are all facing their own struggles, but aren't afraid to share them. So yeah, blonde.radio, just a huge
sounds
proponent
amazing.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe? Who's your favorite on TikTok right now?
So I follow too many people on TikTok right now. So I feel like I'm always like, I watch someone for like a month and then I forget about their content, then I come back to it. I obviously I follow a lot of amputees because it ends up coming up on my For You page a lot. Rebecca Gregory is hilarious. She's a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombing and ended up losing her leg. And the skits that her and her husband do are just like the corniest jokes in the best possible way. Highly recommend her and her account. I also follow an account called Schizophrenic Hippie. He's hilarious. He talks a lot about, he'll show very real videos like in the middle of a schizophrenic episode when he's really having a hard time. And then also he's just like making jokes about something else the next day. And it's real and it's so engaging and hilarious. So those are two that I would definitely recommend.
For me, I really like Crutches and Spice. You guys probably all follow her, but her videos are so informational. Like I learned so much from her video. She's such a great speaker. So I love her account. And then I also love Leah Asher Music is her account, but she posts a lot about chronic illness. She's hilarious. She did like a whole Bridgerton thing, like if a character in Bridgerton was chronically ill, and it was like amazing. So she's great. She's a great follow if you have chronic illness for sure.
Do you want to hear something really funny about Leah Asher?
What?
So I started following Leah's TikTok, just showed up on my FYP. And I'm like, oh, I really love her. And posted on my Instagram stories. And my cousin Madeline DMs me and she's like, oh, so you met Leah? It's Leah. She's like, oh, you met Leah? And I was like, oh, I don't know her. She's just on my FYP. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's our cousin.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? She's related to me and I didn't know. So she's actually one of my cousins, one of my distant cousins. And I was like, how did the FYP know that we were
power of the TikTok algorithm?
I was like, that was one of the, and that was like my first early days on TikTok, but I just got fed that and I was like, wow.
Oh, so, that's amazing.
Related to another superstar. No, she's fantastic. I really like her stuff. Yeah. So, of all the TikToks that you guys have made, what have been your favorite TikToks of your TikToks that you've done so far? What's your favorite one that you've made? The one that you felt either had the most impact or was the funniest or was the most fun to make?
I did one earlier, like a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine who's also a below-knee right side amputee. And we had like a race to get our legs all the way off and all the way back on as quickly as possible. It's a dumb video, but like I had so much fun making that because it's just like, it's a stupid and funny and weird thing to do. Like who gets to say like, let's race to get our legs off and back on. And that was a lot of fun to make. And, I just really enjoyed it. It didn't go like super viral, but I couldn't care less. It was just fun.
I laughed. I saw that one. That was really funny.
Good.
What about you, Will?
Mine would probably be, I have two. I really enjoyed the one I did for the NFL and American Cancer Society. I did one for them just to promote, I forget what event they were doing, but they were collaborating for some football game and cancer fundraiser or something like that. But I shot that with my friend Chad and my stepdad, and we were out on the football field, and I really enjoyed that just because it brought people together, and it's just a good memory that I've made with the people that I've been able to do the app with. And then the other one would probably be doing my transplant day with my mom, my dad, my sister, and then my nurse Rachel. She was my original nurse that took care of me when I originally got diagnosed, and she was also the one that gave me my stem cell transplant 3 years later. So it was just like very special to have that all like come together. So full circle moment. Life's crazy, but yeah.
That's so sweet. Was she like super honored to be on the TikTok?
Oh yeah, she loved it. She's been on 2 of them, and they've both went viral. So she may be the lucky charm. I don't know. I should probably reach out.
That's when the 2 that my husband was on. He was like, "What did we go viral? Was it me? Did they like me?" And I was like, "It was super viral. Everybody's seen it." No, Mary Kate, what about you? Was it the Sex and the City one? Because that one was really good.
That was one of my faves, but probably also when I did if a skater, gaslighter guy like finds out that you're chronically ill, like the things that he says to you, it's like a teaching moment to be like, don't say these things to someone. Yeah, my account's a little bit out there, but I just have fun doing it.
That's awesome.
That one was so good. Yeah, that one was really funny. Very relatable. We've all run into that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we only have like a couple of minutes left. This hour is like flying by, but we have a ton of questions from the audience. So let's dive right in. What would you say the advantages of using TikTok for advocacy are, I guess, as opposed to other channels?
I would say growth. Like I had posted about my chronic illness before on my Instagram and never got any followers. I posted about it and in a week I had like 1,000 followers. The algorithm is so much more powerful on TikTok for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you just get kind of like exploded out there in ways that you just could never on other platforms. Like, I don't know who it feeds it to, but like the views are, the engagement is so different. I mean, I don't know if it's just we can't see the maximum amount of impressions that you get on Instagram, but it shows the views and you're really seeing, you know, suddenly hundreds of people looking at your post instead of just, you know, a couple of your friends on Instagram. Totally see that. Any other thoughts on advantages over advocacy? Yeah.
I would just say, yeah, the growth and just like awareness. So just like with people interacting, people are just so much more likely to just talk back, I guess you could say. If your post is a talk to them, it's people will talk back, and that's really comforting. And yeah, I would say that. So
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm echoing what you guys already said, but the way that you can organically grow without knowing people previously, without like knowing all the cool tips and tricks or having high tech gear, you can just explode, and that's nuts because it doesn't really exist on any other social media platform I'm aware of. I know I mentioned this earlier too, but specifically for like patient advocacy and telling your story and connecting with communities, like you were saying, Mary Kate, like finding your community, it has a huge potential for that. And I think specifically with like awareness and advocacy, again, going back to what I said about younger audiences, you can just, I think that's really important because like as a kid, I was kind of unintentionally by my parents, but I wasn't exposed to people who were different than me or looked different than me or had disabilities. I wasn't, so I felt like a lot of discomfort and a lot of weirdness. And so you can kind of tell your story if you want and get things out there to people who are still learning. And I think really help to make the world a better place in the future and less, less stereotypes, less prejudice.
Do you think that's because a lot, I mean, obviously there's all different ages of people on TikTok, but there's a lot of, you know, younger people. And do you think that's because maybe the older generations aren't as willing to share their stories? I just feel like there are so many more patients and patient leaders and patient influencers on TikTok as opposed to other, I mean, just the sheer amount. Like when you look at these hashtags, when you look at, you know, just if you like search lupus on, sorry, my husband just started. If you search under TikTok, you see all these videos and I mean, just so many different people for all these conditions. Yeah, I don't know if it's because there is more willingness in younger generations to share their stories and be open about that or what, I don't know, but they're certainly there.
I think that's definitely a huge part of it. I also think that the fact that you do not have to put a lot of effort into something to get it up is huge, because as someone who deals with a lot of migraines, a lot of pain, I have a lot of days where I just like, I have maybe an hour or two where I'm actually functional. Thinking about having to create Instagram worthy content or a whole YouTube video is too much. I can't do it. So I can still talk about things. I can talk about things when I don't have makeup on and I'm literally still in bed, And so I think it caters a little bit better to those of us who struggle with those kinds of conditions.
Yeah, I see that.
Also, sorry, my dog is barking too. Also, there is like a big community on there of people that are undiagnosed. So I know it's like hard to find a community on other platforms if you don't know what hashtag to search because you don't have a diagnosis. But there is like a huge group of people who are undiagnosed. They're still on their diagnosis journey and they're on there and people are supportive and people try to give like tips and tricks. So you don't have to have a diagnosis to even start a chronic illness account. You don't. You can start a chronic illness account without having a diagnosis, which is important for I think a lot of people to know.
You absolutely can, because so many of those topics are completely universal. A lot of things that you cover in your feed are universal across fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and POTS and, you know, Crohn's and colitis and all these other conditions. So I totally see that. So one more question we got asked was, how do patients feel about seeing TikToks that incorporate humor surrounding serious medical topics? Do people get offended? That's a good one for us, huh?
Ooh, I think that's a great question. I can tackle that first if you guys don't mind. I think that personally, humor has been like the single most beneficial, helpful, and healthy coping mechanism for things I've dealt with in my life. I have had people tell me like that's offensive. I'm like, but I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about like my own experience. I'm not offended by it. If it's uncomfortable to you, that's something to address. But like, I almost think it's one of the biggest tools. And I heard a quick quote recently. Hopefully, I won't skewer it here live. But basically, that the joking about a serious topic doesn't mean you don't take it seriously. It just means that you're not letting it have all-consuming power over you for a moment. I think that's huge to me. And so I love using humor to talk about really serious, very like affecting things. Because for a moment, you can make light of it, and it's a little bit easier to cope that way, I think.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot. Like you get a lot of like this dark humor, but it's super relatable. And I mean, if you're living with these day in and day out, like you need that. You need that. It breeds normalcy to it, is what it does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
most of my account is like dark humor, but other people that are sick, like they love that. They're like, yes, like I need this. Like I need to be able to laugh about this. This is great.
Yeah.
I really, I'm trying to think about this question recently. I haven't really faced a lot of like people being like, oh, this is offensive to me. And even if I do, or if they say something, or they try to antagonize me in some way, or like, the comments, like we've all had them. They're just, it's comical. I never really let it get under my skin, but yeah, I it's very easy to just ignore that stuff because like I have 100 other people here that like are totally in support of what's going on. And so I don't know, if you're really feeling that poorly about yourself and what's going on, then take a check on your own emotions. But yeah, I try not to let that stuff hinder my feelings or how I look at the app and what I post. So no, food for thought.
I think it's important that patients go out there and they set the tone. I mean, we are the ones with these, and not to say we speak for every single patient out there for our condition, but we are part of that group. And I think if we want to go out there and we want to laugh about it, sometimes doesn't mean we always laugh about it. Doesn't mean that we don't have moments that we're not crying in the bathtub, because we certainly are. But that doesn't mean that's, always what we're going to post about and what will always reach everyone. Sometimes humor is one of the best ways to get out there and reach people in a way that doesn't also leave them crying in the bathtub, but still gets the message across that, hey, you're not alone. This is happening to us. It's happening to a bunch of people, and we're still here and we're still with you. And I really see that community on TikTok. I really feel that from TikTok, that that there is very much a sense of, I want you to know that I'm here too. And it might be a dark time, it might be a hard time, but it doesn't have to be a lonely time. And even though we're in a pandemic, and even though we're chronically ill, or whatever it is, we can be together in this weird, unique, new way. So I love that about the app. And I've loved sitting here and having this hour to discuss this all with you guys. This has been such a great, fun conversation. And I can't even keep up with the chat because I see like a zillion comments right now. And I'm so glad that everyone is so engaged in this. And I want you again, just to point you towards your WEGO Health profiles. If you have a TikTok, if you're thinking of starting one, make sure to put your TikTok link in your WEGO Health profile and DM us on Instagram and on TikTok. And find us there. There's going to be this whole thing has been recorded, and we are going to be turning this panel along with some other great information into a full course on our WEGO Health platform, which again has all these other great free resources for you. So make sure to log on, check that out. And we are always recruiting for new paid opportunities for patient leaders. So just follow us and make sure you check out what's going on, because we're updating constantly. And we're going to be sending out a follow-up email with all of our lovely panelists, TikTok links and other information, so you can follow them as well. I know it was also posted in the chat, but I just wanted to thank you guys again for joining us. Thank you, Mary Kate, Joe, William. This was so much fun.
Of course, it was wonderful to be here.
Yeah.
Yes, this was a pleasure. I could talk about TikTok all day. So
Yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. We really appreciate it. Makes you feel loved and feel whole. So thanks everybody. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Have a great night.